All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Lunch Money webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session and TGIF. TGIF. Okay, so let me
It's not lunch money, Blake.
grab the bias. Oh, did I say lunch money? Did I really just say that?
You did just say that.
TGIF. Oh my God. Welcome to the Morning Edge. See, oh, man, jeez.
It's
All right,
Friday.
thanks. Yeah, thank God. Thank God it is Friday. All right, Kipper.
Hi.
All right, thanks. Good morning, everybody. This is the Morning Edge webinar, and I'm glad that you're here. So it looks like the cable just hit new lows. We were talking about this yesterday, and we'll look at, oh my God, maybe we should take a really good look at the cable. See, the problem with the cable, and I know I said this yesterday, and I guess remember we had to delete everything, but I'm going to say this again from yesterday. The problem that the cable has is it hasn't been bouncing. I mean, if you watch the price action in the cable, it slid to support, and I mean, I tried to play it to the long side, right? I played it to the long side, I think here. Was it here? I want to say it was here, and I got out took a 15 pip profit, and then the bottom fell out. Or was it here? I can't remember where. What I think I bought it here and maybe sold it here, something like that. But the scary thing about the cable is we slid, and we're not, and we weren't bouncing. And man, this pound looks extremely weak, extremely weak. Um, yeah, we break through, these lows here in the 70s, and it's going to get ugly. Yeah. Daryl said, yeah, you bought around 152.50. I know. I bought it like, yeah, you're right, 152.50, like right here maybe. And then I sold it like right here. I literally bought it here, sold it here, and I thought at that time, I'm like, thank God I got out. And then like an hour later, the bottom fell out of it, and I'm like, wow, thank God. I couldn't have got luckier at that moment when I got out. But the scary thing about the cable, is that it just hasn't been bouncing. It hasn't been. It's telling you that it's weak. The thing about the pound, and the reason why the pound, in my opinion, the reason why the pound is so heavy right now, well, there's a lot of selling pressure, but there's people that are buying it in anticipation of the Bank of England possibly raising rates in the future, and they're not getting a bang for their buck, meaning that they're buying, but you're not getting a bounce. So if you're buying and you're not getting a bounce, you're sitting here going, okay, well, if I'm not making money, I got to turn around and get out, especially if the dollar's so strong. So, well, now the cable is breaking down, and now it's looking really ugly. And we're really probably going to push right through the support. Now, this is a bad tick, by the way. This over here. That's a bad tick. Okay, but those weren't. So 151.65. I'm writing it down. It's one. We're probably going to break through it, and this is really key support right now. So let's imagine we break. Where do we go? We're starting off with the cable, obviously, because we're hitting new lows. So 65 to the highs. 127% extension is 150.38. Seems doable to me. Let's go to the daily chart. If you take the trend lows from April of last year, okay, look at the 618 of all of that comes in at 150.90. That, my friends, is doable today. Whoops, shoot, I didn't want to do that. Hold on. Damn it. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to magnetize to the end of the wicks. Okay, there we go. All right, so 150.86. That's very doable today. I know you're looking at it going, whoa, can we drop all the way down there? Oh hell yeah, we can. You know, uh, yes, Jose said bearish flag. Yeah, there's a big weekly bear flag, and I want to thank Andrew for. I think Andrew in Boston was. It was one of the Andrews yesterday or a couple of days ago that uh, uh, brought that to our attention. But I want to tell you that this level is doable. We all you need is a strong GDP number. Like if we post a 3.7, 3.8% GDP, dollar's gonna dollar's gonna probably get a nice little boost. We could see the cable plunge through that support, plunge through those lows. Okay. Once you start breaking through there, then the selling really accelerates. Then once you break 151, you trip all the stops below there, and then you hit 150.86, and then you bounce. If I wanted to play the cable on the long side, I would do it right here. 150.85. Here, and I'm gonna delete. There you go. Okay. That's key support for right now, and then the next key support comes in at 150.85. If you really want to buy the pound, if you're like, well, I really want to be a buyer, I would do it right here. Let everybody get stopped out, then get long. But then you can put your stops below like here. You know what I mean? Like down here, and look for a bounce. Don't. This is scary trying to get long here. Very scary, in my opinion. All right. Anyway, let me remove that. Let's go over to the euro. We usually start off with the euro, but the cable was on the move. So, and I'm going to reiterate all the drawings that I made yesterday. They didn't stick. When I went to shut down, when you close it down, it asks you want to save your layout, and I hit no on accident yesterday, and I was like, I was so frustrated. After I hit no and it automatically shut down, I was like, oh, well, there went 12 hours of drawings that just, out the window. So yeah, nothing saved yesterday. So I'm redrawing a lot of stuff this morning. All right, going to the euro dollar. So the euro, we came down to the 111, basically 111 area. We went what 111.15, I think. I am short at 112.47. That's my cost average. I'm up 86 pips on half of my position. I took half of it off yesterday at like 70. I want to say like 74. Like not too far from where we're at. I took half of my position off yesterday around here. I'm sitting in the rest. Um, you know, I I don't know if I'd be short here. Like I don't know if I would be looking short right here. If I was going to short the euro, if I didn't have a position, I was going to short the euro. I would try to short a rally, and like a rally back to this 112.15 area probably is a good place to be on the short side, somewhere up here. Okay, so if you go from the high to the low, 50% retracement comes in at 112.06. Yeah, maybe I'll move back up to this previous support. So you're talking about 112.15. That's probably a different. Oh shoot, I forgot 112.15. I didn't even finish up with the. I didn't even finish up with the pound. Oops, sorry guys. Hold on. Pound resistance today. Guess we should find that. Good question, huh? Well, I'm gonna tell you this. As long as the cable's below that blue line, you don't want to be on the long side. But that comes in at 152 right now, 152.50. Okay. Okay. And we're threatening to turn bearish. So just letting you know, 152.50. Today we're threatening to go bearish in the cable. Okay. All right, go on. Let's go back to the euro. Sorry for all the jumping around. Here is the Jace had two non-saves in a row. Laugh out loud. Oh dear. Yeah. Well, the first one from 2 days ago wasn't my fault. It what happened is we had a burp in my internet connection somewhere, like, and it froze all my trading programs, so I had to actually manually shut them down. So that wasn't my fault, But yesterday was my fault. Yesterday was more of a I was trying to run out of the I was trying to run out to lunch quick because I was running late, and so I was shutting things down. And yeah, just I clicked on it, clicked again, and I said, "Oh crap!" All right. So anyway, it happens. All right. Support 111. Now we had 110.90, and that's why. Okay, this is actually support here, guys. But I'll take a look at something else here. Just let's get rid of this. Just so you can see it. Well, no, never mind. It's really, this is where critical support is. 110.90. I mean, dips to 111 are supported, but I'm going to write down 110.90. That's key support. 110.90. Okay. Key support for the euro. I'm going to tell you this right now. If we get down to 111 in the euro, I'm probably going to close my short. I missed it overnight. Obviously a man's got to sleep. So when we dipped to 111.15, I probably would have got out in the 20s if I was awake while that happened. I just wasn't, I was sleeping. So I'm telling you right now, if the euro gets back down to 111, I'm probably going to close out my short from yesterday because that's a good trade in the euro, especially when you're range bound. Squeeze out 150 pips out of the euro dollar when you're just doing this. That's a solid trade. I like I said, I wish I was awake last night when we dipped down here, but I wasn't. So, all right, let's go take a look at the Swissy. So I added to my Swissy today. I okay, so just so you know where I entered yesterday, I entered when we wrote down support of 96.85, right? We wrote down 96.85 because we were talking about a retest of this level. I got long at 96.84. I sold half of it yesterday afternoon, like right here. Like right here? Yeah, I sold like half of it right here. I wasn't awake for that. But when we dipped down here into the 50s, I bought some more. I bought it back, basically. So I added, all right? All the guys and gals in the chat room know that I bought some more Swissy down there. Now, here's the thing that worries me about the Swissy. So now, are you ready? That concerns me right there. Okay. Now remember, we're still dealing with the longer term trend line that comes in like this. This is the big deal. This is the big kahuna. This is the I'm hoping will break sometime in my lifetime move. Okay. Looks like that. Right. You can see it. Okay, that trend line comes in now right basically at today's highs. So let me say this. If we break today's highs, okay, If we break today's highs and we can close above today's highs, that will be one step closer to an amazing upside breakout. Okay. I'm telling you guys, if we break today's highs, like let's say we have a blowout GDP number, I'm not expecting it. I'll say it again. I'm not expecting, but if we have a blowout um, um, GDP number today and the dollar rips higher, because remember the dollar has all sorts of reasons to go higher now. Why? Because Janet Yellen basically she said 12 out of the 14 Fed. Did she say 12 out of the 14 Fed governors expect a rate rise in 2015? She said something like that yesterday. Look, there's a lot of institutions that are not expecting that we're not expecting the Fed to raise rates in 2015. And there's a lot of positioning adjustments going on right now. There's a lot of positioning adjustments where people are like, "Oh shoot, we need to be long the dollar. We weren't thinking the Fed was going to raise this year. That looks like they're going to." So there's those adjustments that are happening right now. If we have a strong GDP number, maybe that's the catalyst that drives us higher. But I'm telling you, is if we close above today's highs, so we close above like 98.50, this market is this Swissy is one step closer to making a historic run, I think. So I want to be around when it happens. That's why I stepped up my position size a little bit this morning. Okay. Not saying it's going to, but you when the move starts, you want to have a piece of it. That's the way I always look at big moves. When a big move happens, I want to have a piece of it on the way as it's happening, and this one might be it. Okay, so today's highs are 98.40, 98.40 asterisk. We're threatening to turn bullish today. Support for the Swissy, hate to say it, but it's all the way back down here. Somewhere way down here, like way down here, like high to low, 97 cents. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be buyers down there, but okay, dollar yen. So the dollar yen, we've talked about the dollar yen, and notice this triangle. Notice we're breaking out. Notice we got a flag pattern. So let's talk about the yen, since obviously some people want to. So as long as we are above 120.70, as long as we are above 120.70, and now that we're breaking out of this triangle to the upside, we've gone from being in a bearish trend to now a range bound move. Now, I really, like I said earlier, I really want to short the yen higher, the dollar yen higher, excuse me. And if this flag plays out, looks like we might be able to short it up at 122, right? Right. See, that resistance comes right into play. 121.75. Cable. Oh my God, the pound is breaking. Holy shoot. Woo! Wow. Oh, pound. It's flushing the stops. Damn. I don't have any pound exposure. None. I have none. Unbelievable, isn't it? Wow. Patrick says, let's chase it. Just kidding. Good one. All right. Let's go over to the Canadian really quick. I'll do that before we take a break. So here's the Canadian. Now, Joe says, is there that a shooting star on the daily Canadian? It is. And that was a shooting star formation, which gives it a high probability of a reversal today. But this is where you have to this is where the hard decisions are made. Is it is it a good short when the dollar is ripping against everything else? That's you're gonna have to use your better judgment there. I've seen shooting star patterns not work out. Okay, and if the dollar goes on a freaking rampage today, I don't know if you really want to stand in front of the Canadian short. But I will tell you this, that is a shooting star, that is a false breakout above the highs. And typically if like let's say I didn't care about what the rest of the market was doing, I would be shorting the dollar Canadian. Okay? I would be shorting the dollar Canadian if I didn't care what everything else was doing. Okay? Anyway, um yeah, I think the Canadian today is going to be a tricky one. 134 is obviously resistance. I'm just going to write that down. That's obvious. It's still bullish. It hasn't turned bearish, but I don't like that daily candle, and I have no Canadian exposure right now. So um, I think while we stay above 133, I'm just going to take this and move it up here. I think you get as long as it's above 133, it's probably still bullish. Drops below 133, and that's probably going to wreck, the current bias, I think. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the Kiwi, the Aussie, and the Dixie, and we really should talk about the peso, the big reversal on the peso. We'll talk about some of these other currencies. So don't go anywhere, guys. I'll be back in a few moments. Thanks. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. TGIF. We got to finish up our analysis. Equities are still pretty well bid. Cable's really, really weak here. We're 5 pips from lows. We traded as low as 150, 150. The euro dollar's looking pretty weak as well, and the Swissie's bid up. Like I said, if you guys use the Lightwave system or Wise Trade, I was having issues with my lights earlier. I still am. I've heard reports of people that shut down and restarted and they're fine. I'm just not going to do it while we're live broadcasting, but that's why it looks the way it does. All right, let's go over to the Kiwi. So here's the Kiwi dollar, and I'm going to have to redraw everything from yesterday, but it hasn't changed a lot. Just I want to be very specific here. This is what we're looking at. This is a 4-hour chart. That is a bearish wedge. Consistent lows, lower highs is a bearish wedge. Now, does it mean it's going to break down? The probabilities are higher for a downside breakout than an upside breakout. I would say there is a probably about a 65 to 70% chance of a breakdown and maybe a 35 to 30% chance of a break higher. Okay. So the propensity is for the a breakdown, right? Now, we're stuck right now between a 63, well, it's a downsloping trend line, so we lose pippage every day, but the 618 comes in at 63.70. Maybe a little bit higher than that. We go 63.80, and then support is at 62.40. Okay, so if we rally to 63.80, that's probably a good short from a risk reward perspective, right? We are still in a bearish trend. Wait, hold on. Before I write that down, support today will probably come in before that. So we should have support at 63. So we'll have support at 63, and below 63 we'll have 62.40. So 0.6240 asterisk 0.63. Okay. Let's go take a look at the Aussie. So the Aussie dollar, okay, so a couple of things here. Let's delete. Okay, so the Aussie is range bound, right? We've been range bound. Now, this support yesterday held, so that's obviously pretty key support. So we can write down 69.40 as being support. But right now, let's say that we get let's say we get a dollar bearish move because let's say the GDP numbers are weak. Well, we have a inverse head and shoulder pattern that can play to the upside here, target somewhere up there. It's possible. Okay, so what I'm going to write down is resistance being 70.40. The same thing though is below 60.40. It's going to get downright ugly. So 0.6040, or wait, that's not right. 69.40. Okay, range and dollar index. Here's the dollar index, and notice how the dollar index so the dollar index is trying to probe through resistance overnight. Yeah. Well, the highs are 96.66. Weren't we writing down 96.60? We were, right? So resistance 96. We've been writing down 96.60. Now resistance is 96.66 because that's the overnight high. Oh, look at the Swissy. Go Swissy, go. Go Swissy, go. Go Swissy, go. Canadians hitting new lows, and the Swissy is running higher. Interessante. How's the Canadian Swiss look? Probably pretty bullish, right? I would think. We're in a range. Support. Notice this. See this trend line right here? See that one? Notice how well that played yesterday. Dip. Kissed it. Right? $95.45. So any dip down to $95.50 will be bought. All right. Let's go over to the peso. Now the pace, this is a nasty reversal yesterday, guys. Downright nasty. Look at this thing. We hit a new high, and then, man, talk about a reversal pattern. Wow, that's something, right? These emerging market currencies, I'll reiterate from our conversation yesterday afternoon. Euro, MXN, okay? We started going down yesterday when the stock market started to bounce. So that is the Euro Mexican peso is a great example of carry trade funding currency. So remember that that's what created this rally. Okay, there was the stock market was down 1,000 points that one day, and that created that last spike. Yesterday, when the stock market was selling off, the peso was spiking, and then as soon as the market found a bottom, we reversed hard. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that as the stock market is holding up well, it's going to weigh on these emerging, or it'll put a bid underneath these emerging market currencies, like the Brazilian real, like the South African rand, like the Turkish lira, Polish zloty. Those currencies will outperform while the stock markets are bouncing back. Okay, just so you know. All right, so here's the peso. Support's going to be back down at 1650. But we're smack dab in the middle of this range now. That's the problem. So I don't know if there's a whole lot to do with the peso right at this moment in time. If the peso ever came down here, now that would be one thing. That'd probably be a nice long down there, but all right, let's take a look at the Norwegian krona. Look at that breakout. Massive, massive bullish move. So you guys that are shorting the dollar Canadian, this chart right here would really prevent me from shorting the dollar Canadian. That's all I have to say. Swedish krona. I'll tell you, if the if the dollar starts picking up some steam, you probably want to be looking at buying the U.S. dollar Swedish krona. I mean, I don't. There's like I don't know if any where the good levels are here, like good prices, like good resistance or support levels are at. But I'll tell you, if the euro starts getting crushed today following a strong GDP report, if that's what we get, then you guys should look at the US dollar Swedish krona as a possible long. That's what I would be thinking. Okay, so here's your bias chart. You can write that down, and